Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm one half of Process alongside Jackie Stark. And as explained in the first welcome video, we've been working alongside other Jackie to develop and deliver a range of resources and webinars to support Ofqual regulated awarded organisations, currently endpoint assessment organisations, to understand and prepare for the upcoming changes. So in this welcome video, I wanted to just explain a little bit more about our webinar support that we're offering. We're offering two webinar series. One is looking at centre management and the other at assessment strategies. And the reason we've picked those two areas out is there is a lot of information still to come on a lot of the nitty-gritty detail of the reforms. And there's lots of webinars and various articles and guidance documents and so on coming out. But we know for definite that we are going to be moving to you having the option of having centres deliver some of your assessments, and that if you choose to go down that route, there is a whole set of policies and processes that you will definitely need to have in place to manage your centres appropriately. And we also know that you are definitely going to need to have assessment strategies. And whilst the detailed guidance of what that assessment strategy needs to look like for an apprenticeship is still to come, we are very confident that there is core content that needs to be in any assessment strategy, regardless of what type of qualification that is for. And so those are two areas where you can start making concrete actions and making progress now and get ahead of the game so that when that more detailed guidance comes out, you can go back through and just revise and amend. So there's going to be two webinar series, as I say. Both of those webinar series will be made up of two 90-minute live webinars. We are going to be capping the number of participants on those webinars to make sure that there is lots of scope for everyone that's there to ask any questions. We want you to really come away with a really clear way forward for your individual award and organisation. So there'll be lots of time for you to ask questions. There will be at least two of us on each webinar, so you'll have access to compliance expertise, to operational expertise. We should be able to answer any questions that you have. Anything that we can't answer, we will absolutely take away and try and get clarification on that for you and come back to you as quickly as we can. So there'll be two 90-minute long live webinars. You'll also get handouts with those webinars that give you really clear actionable steps and just kind of a bullet points and checklists of things that you need to be thinking about. So for example, on the assessment strategy one, you'll get a list of all the types of things that need to be included in your assessment strategy. The centre management webinar series will be made up of two webinars. The first of those will be on determining the role of a centre and the types and levels of controls you need to put in place. So we'll be looking at understanding the reforms and the centres and centre assessment standards scrutiny, that's your CAS. We'll be helping you determine your approach to centre assessment standard scrutiny. We'll be looking at moderation, thinking about what do you moderate and how you actually go about building that CAS, what needs to go in there, and how does that work alongside your other policies and processes. And then in webinar 2, we will start to look at some of those other policies and processes. So we'll be looking at your centre approval policies, your onboarding, your monitoring and review. So why and how do you have an approval process? What are the responsibilities of you as an awarding organisation and of your centres in terms of your centre agreements and your onboarding processes? How do you monitor your centres and keep monitoring and reviewing them on an ongoing basis? And what does your malpractice, your appeals, your adverse effects and your sanctions look like? Our second webinar series is looking at assessment strategies. So webinar 1 is designing a strategy that works in practice. So that's going to be looking at understanding the purpose and value of an assessment strategy, what Ofqual has said, what we can see in existing Ofqual guidance for other qualifications where an assessment strategy is required. We'll look at how you might want to structure and format that assessment strategy. We'll be looking at the different options for how you can format and structure that assessment strategy and our advice on the best approach to take. And then we'll get into some nitty-gritty about where you can actually start, what you can actually do now, and what content do you actually need to have in that assessment strategy. And then webinar 2 is going to focus in on some of the areas in that assessment strategy that are potentially new to endpoint assessment organisations. So we're going to look at how you decide what to assess, when to assess it, and how to assess it. We'll be looking at how you define your assessment conditions, how do you make sure that they're proportionate and they're justifiable, and then we're going to look at how you are going to decide on your grading model. So what are the different options that you have for grading apprenticeship assessments, How would you decide which is the best one to use? How would you make sure that they are written in an appropriate way? The investment for each of those webinar series is just £300 per person for each series. Or if there are 2 or more people joining from the same awarding organisation, it'll be £270 per person. And then we're also offering a discount if you want to come to both series. So that would be £550 per person or £495 per person if there are 2 or more. We've kept those prices as low as we can, and we're capping the numbers on each webinar to make sure that they're really interactive and that you've got a chance to ask all the questions you need to ask and that you're able to come away with a clear action plan for you later.